on. We're Sir Winston Honeybees, and today is September 30th, 2021. And today we're not in the apiary, we're actually in my kitchen. And we're making, well, what you would think is a very simple thing. It's sugar water, or syrup for the bees. And so this is my first year beekeeping. And when I first started beekeeping, people were saying, well, you gotta feed your bees because there's not enough nectar going around, or we're in a dearth. And I will point out, as a matter of fact, that as we're getting to the end of our beekeeping season, we should have had a fall flow because we had a lot of goldenrod. Well, the fall flow was kind of disappointing, but the goldenrod pollen was crazy. I mean, that stuff's still coming in. But we didn't get a lot of nectar, so most beekeepers right now are feeding bees 2-to-1 sugar syrup or sugar water, whatever you want to call it, on their hives, just to get the bees ready for winter. So we want to get these bees to start storing some of this stuff so they can use it as food over the winter time. Now, they get their protein from the pollen, and they get carbs from the sugar water. And so what we're doing is we're going to make syrup, and hopefully I can help you out with this recipe, because to be honest with you, I looked it up when I first started beekeeping and it was kind of complicated, or I didn't find good answers. And people were measuring and they were talking about fluid ounces or solid ounces or whatever. And it was just very, very complex. So I'm going to give you a very simple recipe for making syrup for your bees using the following ingredients. Now, first of all, I like to use these gallon feeders, and you can get these on Amazon, and you can order them online from beekeepers. I personally get it from Blue Sky Supply in Ravenna, Ohio. I live east of Akron, and so most beekeepers who live east of Akron in this general area get their supplies from Blue Sky. And if you're on the west side of Akron, most beekeepers there get their stuff from Queenwright, which is in Spencer, Ohio, which is kind of west of Akron. And so we've got west siders and we got east siders, and sometimes it gets rough between the two crews. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just kidding. Everyone's very cooperative. But so what we want to do is we want to fill this gallon bucket, or 2 or 3. I have 2 hives, and that's what I'm going to keep it at right now. My intent is next spring, when it's time to start splitting my hive, is I'm going to create a resource hive. I'm probably going to do a double nuke, so I have 2 queens, and that's going to be my resources, and that's going to be it for me. So any other splits or anything after that, those are going to friends or anyone who's interested. But let's get back to making syrup for bees. Okay, so these are the ingredients that we're going to use. Obviously, we're going to have water, we're going to have sugar, we're going to use a little bit of white vinegar, and then there's some supplements that you can also get from Blue Sky or Amazon. I found that for me it was cheaper at Blue Sky because I could just drive there. And it was a little bit more expensive on Amazon. So anyway, but you can get them on Amazon. This one's called Honeybee Healthy, very popular with beekeepers, and it smells kind of nice. And then there's this, this is the Amino Bee Booster. Also, it's by Honeybee Healthy. This is the Amino Booster, which smells horrible, by the way. But this one, the original Honeybee Healthy, and this is a feeding stimulant for bees, this actually smells kind of pleasant. I wouldn't drink any of them. They're actually for the bees. So, let's talk a little bit about recipes and quantities and how much sugar you're going to use, how much water, etc. So like I told you, I like to use this gallon bucket, and it does get a gallon of water, which is 16 cups. So 1 gallon of water is 16 cups. 1 gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. Okay, so each cup weighs half a pound. Now, in order to do this recipe, what I start with is I start with the sugar, and you can buy sugar. It's very convenient for this particular recipe. You can buy it in 4-pound bags, which is kind of how it comes nowadays. You can get 25-pound bags if you want to weigh it out. You have more hives. But this is for the first-year beekeeper, the simple beekeeper. So you start with 4 pounds of sugar. And usually what I do is I'm going to mix 4 pounds of sugar with the equal amount of water, which is 8 cups of water, right? So 8 cups of water weighs 4 pounds. And so, because 16 cups of water is a gallon, and 16 cups is 8 pounds. So 4 cups of water, no, 8 cups of water, I'm sorry, 8 cups of water is going to be 4 pounds. And then I'm just going to mix it with the 4 pounds of sugar. But wait, there's more. So here's the thing. We're now in a, what we call a dearth. A dearth is a period of time where there's not a lot of nectar coming in, and we really want to boost up these hives. The queens are slowing down in their egg laying. Right now, the eggs that are being laid, or the brood that's currently in the hive, those are going to be what are called winter bees, all right? And winter bees, they're not like your regular summer bees that live about 42 days. Winter bees will live in the hive for about 4, maybe 6 months, depending on where you live. Here in Northeast Ohio, we expect them, you know, the cold weather, it's going to start around November. It's already getting chilly at night. We've had temperatures in the 40s as of right now. But pretty soon it's going to get frosty, and it's going to get cold, and you know, these bees are going to start clustering towards the top of the hive as we get to winter. And all they're going to do is they're going to cluster and generate heat for the next 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months. So the winter bees are just going to live for that amount, you know, but they don't do a lot of foraging or anything else. That's all they do. So anyway, so we're going to do a mixture of 2 parts sugar to 1 part water. So we're thickening it a little bit. All right. So the other thing is, obviously you're going to say, well, John, how are you going to fill 1 gallon, you know, of a 1 gallon bucket with 4 pounds or 8 pounds of sugar? Well, interestingly enough, every time I do this recipe, you know, you've got 8 cups of water, which is half of a gallon, which is half of this bucket, but you have to account for the mass of the sugar. Now, the sugar does dissolve in the water, but it does have mass, all right? So the water level does increase, but not a full, you know, half gallon, and not another full half gallon. So you will find that mixing in 8 cups of water with 4 pounds of sugar will pretty much fill this gallon bucket. And even if you add 8 pounds of sugar, it's going to fill it a little bit more, but it won't go over the top. So you can do a full gallon bucket with just either 8 cups of water, and sometimes you can do 10 cups of water just to thin it a little bit. But 8 cups of water to 4 pounds of sugar is 1-to-1 syrup. 8 cups of water to 8 pounds of sugar is 2-to-1 syrup. So let's go and start boiling up this water. Any questions? Comment them below. All right, so we have 8 cups of water. They've come to a boil. We're going to go ahead and shut off the stove. And I like to shut the stove off before I put the sugar in, just because I don't want the sugar and the boiling water. For some reason, I know the sugar won't caramelize, but I prefer to not have boiling water when I pour the sugar in. So I'm going to start just by pouring in the first 4-pound bag of sugar. And now with my wire whisk, I'm just going to stir it till all the sugar dissolves in the water. This is going to take maybe about 3 minutes or so. right, so as you can see, our sugar has all dissolved. There's still a couple of grains floating around, but our sugar has dissolved. So if you're making just regular simple syrup, you know, 1-to-1 syrup or sugar water, you're good to go. We're just going to go ahead and add some of our food supplements and some vinegar. And the vinegar I add is actually just to prevent it from molding, because you're going to put this sugar water outside, and on warm summer days, it's going to mold. The sides of the bucket tend to get some green mold, so the vinegar kind of stops the mold a little bit, prevents the mold. So we'll go ahead and add those items real quick, and then yeah, let's go ahead and add those. All right, so if you look on the amino acid booster, on the back of it, you can see the instructions. And again, just to see the front of it there, amino acid booster from Honey Bee Healthy, and this is a very popular product with beekeepers. Again, it supplements, you know, just the bees a little bit. It just introduces some amino acids into their system. You know, they are wild animals, to be honest with you, but they do need supplements, and some people actually are giving the bees probiotics now, which is kind of a cool thing that I'm going to be looking into for next season. But again, if you look on the back here, it says for 1 gallon of syrup, you're going to need between 6 to 8 teaspoons of the amino acid booster and 4 teaspoons of the Honey Bee Healthy. This is the amino acid booster, so I'm going to go ahead and put in, I'll just split the difference. Instead of putting in 4 to 8, I'm just going to put in 6 teaspoons. 6 teaspoons, right? I'll just double check because I don't have my glasses on. 6 teaspoons of the amino acid booster. Now, I have this great measuring spoon. I got it at like one of these expos. And I'll tell you what, this is the greatest thing because it's got tablespoon, teaspoon, a half a teaspoon, and a 1/4 teaspoon. And why is a 1/4 teaspoon important? Well, actually, when I'm going to do my oxalic vapor, that's a gram. Okay, so we'll get to that later. But 1 tablespoon is 3 teaspoons, so we need 6 teaspoons. That's 2 tablespoons. Go ahead. That's 3 teaspoons. There's 3 more. Just go ahead and stir that off of there, okay? And now we're going to do 4 teaspoons of the Honey Bee Healthy, which again, I'm just going to do 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon just to make it quick, right? Three. And last, I'm just going to add 1 teaspoon of just the plain white distilled vinegar. Don't use any of these fancy, you know, red wine, apple cider vinegars or anything like that. Just use white vinegar. Oops. All right, that's not going to hurt. So again, that's just for mold. I'm going to go ahead and use my whisk just to mix that up a little bit. And I'm going to actually introduce some heat back again, because remember, I'm going to add another 4 pounds of sugar. So like I said, if you want to go with a 1-to-1, and usually if you're just feeding in the springtime or whatever, you just want to supplement and you want to do a thin 1-to-1, you're good to go right here, all right? But again, we're now in the fall, and so we want a thicker, heavier syrup for the bees. So we're going to do 2-to-1 syrup, like I said. So that, again, that's going to be 8 pounds of sugar to 8 cups of water. 1-to-1 is 4 pounds of sugar to 8 cups of water, plus the supplements. So again, I'm bringing up the heat just to kind of warm up the water a little bit, just to kind of allow the sugar to dissolve a little bit faster. So the water level will go up a little bit, obviously, as we introduce more mass. We'll go ahead and stir in the other 4 pounds of sugar until all that has been dissolved. So I went ahead and let the syrup some time to cool down. Just, I mean, you don't really have to let it cool down, but since I'm pouring it into some plastic, you know, I mean, it's not really good to have hot stuff in plastic like that. So I let it cool down for a little while. I usually do. And now I'm going to go ahead and transfer it to the gallon pail. Now remember, we started with 8 cups of water, which is 4 pounds, and 4 pounds of sugar. And then we added another 4 pounds of sugar in our supplements. And we didn't quite start with a whole gallon of water. We started with half a gallon of water, but we have a gallon feeder. So now we're going to see if my theory is correct, that turned into a gallon of syrup. It's 2-to-1 syrup, and it'll fill this bucket right here, ready for my bees. So let's go ahead and see. And there you go. There's just a little bit left over. Pretty much perfect. As a matter of fact, I think I over poured it a little bit, but that's okay. I'll give this a little bit of extra. So there you go. 2-to-1 sugar water or 2-to-1 syrup with our supplements for the bees, and we're good to go for feeding in the fall. Before I go today, I want to take a minute to just thank everybody who's been subscribing to my channel and watching my videos. I do have, a small number of subscribers as of today, September 30th, 2021, but I sure hope to increase it again. I'm a rookie. I'm a first-year beekeeper right now, so I'm just kind of catering to the first-year beekeeper out there. So thanks a lot for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the bell so you can get notifications when I post new videos. And also give me that like so that YouTube knows that you like me. So that's it for today. I hope this was informative. My name's John again. I'm with Sir Winston Honeybees, and happy bees, everybody.